host, Justin Yantz, and this is episode 61. And this is The Wrestling Show. And I'm going to talk about the AEW New Japan. I'm going to talk a little bit about Lars Sullivan. And I'm going to talk about my problems with WWE. I'm also going to talk about AEW, Beach Break, New Japan, Raw, and SmackDown. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about R&R Rough and Rowdy, as I watch that with some friends. So stay tuned. So the inevitable has happened. AEW and New Japan are working together. There is a deal in place. We don't know how long or how far, but Kenny Omega and Kenta will be teaming up against Lance Archer and Jon Moxley on next week's Dynamite. So that should be exciting. But the most exciting part is New Japan and AEW working together. Now we know that when the former head of New Japan, when he left last year, at the end of last year, that was going to open the door, and it did. So now we have the opportunity to have Kenny Omega versus Ibushi, which we've all wanted to see. Now AEW apparently did come to New Japan and wanted to work with them, and New Japan kind of big leagued them and said, no, we don't think you're going to succeed. How wrong they were. But now it looks like that's out the window. Now, a lot of things are being put in place. We now know that on March 3rd, Shaquille O'Neal and Jade Cargill versus Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet will happen. So they're going to have Shaq on their program. If there was ever a time to do, I don't know if they can because of COVID restrictions, but if they could get like the Bullet Club to invade on Dynamite, I think that would be the coolest thing ever. I don't know if they can do that. I mean, I can dream, but I think the Bullet Club invasion is the way to go with New Japan. You've already got Kenta jumping Jon Moxley. Let's bring Jay White out there. Jay White and the Tonga brothers, and let's have that kind of invasion happen. Maybe even make Omega part of it again. I think that is the way to go. I think that's a cool way to go. Have this invasion, and then maybe you have CM Punk be the guy that they have to come back, who kind of helps AEW out when all is lost. That would be a kind of cool way to look at it. I think that, but I'm excited for all the opportunities to see all these different matches that we've wanted to see. I mean, I'm just so excited because this is going to be, it's going to be great. Another thing that happened is New Japan signed a deal with Roku. So Roku is going to have some New Japan, exclusive New Japan matches. It's not the greatest deal, but you know what? It's a step in the right direction. And hopefully they'll be able to get a bigger deal later on. AEW's ratings were up, even though on NXT they brought out Edge. It did not make the big dent they thought was going to happen. We know that Miko Satomura is going to debut in NXT UK next week. So that's a good thing on the WWE side. Butch Reed passed away. That's kind of sad. He was a stalwart of the 80s. And Cesaro apparently has agreed to a new contract with WWE, which I think is foolish. But you know what? If he wants to continue to be with them, fine. We also had apparently Deanna Perrazzo and Steve Cutler had COVID-19 in January. So more and more people are coming out with saying that they actually have COVID, which is kind of unfortunate. There's not really much to say about Impact this week, so I'm not really going to get into Impact. I'm just going to talk about now this format is going to be a little bit different. Now with Beach Break, I am going to run through probably the whole thing because I thought the whole thing was pretty good. I'm not going to go in any particular order. Then when I get to Raw and SmackDown, I'm just going to talk about the things I liked because, as I said, I want to talk a little bit about my problems I feel with WWE, and that is the age. They're not making new stars. Now, Bianca Belair is a step in the right direction, as I said, but Matt Riddle looked like a fool again on Raw. I don't know how that's supposed to make him. It looks like it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Edge, what I don't want to see, but there you go. I mean, that's kind of where they have to go now. Daniel Bryan, I don't know. He seems to be just nobody in WWE, so I don't know what to say. I don't think there's much more they can do. This is just the way it's gonna go. I think Daniel Bryan is done as a main guy. He's a writer on the show, and he's just gonna help put people over, which I think is a shame because I think he has at least another 2 years in him. But you know what? If that's what he wants to do, then I guess that's what he's gonna do. So I guess it's Roman Reigns versus Edge. I better get used to it. It's not what I want, but you know what? WWE never gives me what I want. Lars Sullivan has been released. Apparently he had crippling anxiety and he no-showed, and I think he's done with wrestling. It's kind of sad because he made a mistake and he seems to regret it every day, and that crippling anxiety kind of hurt him. He was very nervous that it was going to get out. It did get out. I feel bad for him. I know a lot of people want to take shots at him, say the white supremacist and the anti-gay guy got what he deserved. But you know what? I think he already got his comeuppance, and I would have liked to have seen what he could have done. And I feel it's sad. I don't think AEW is going to hire him. Impact might hire him. New Japan might hire him. I feel bad for him, though. I really do. I think he had a chance to do something, and he just... I mean, look, this guy was positioned to beat Cena and at what was it? At not WrestleMania, not the last year's WrestleMania, I think the WrestleMania before that. And the crippling anxiety got to him. I feel bad for him, though. So, Lars Sullivan, if you're out there, I wish you well. I hope you find what you need to do. If it's outside of wrestling, then that's what you got to do. Apparently, WWE hired some kind of creative continuity consultant. Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't think they're doing a very good job with that because I don't see it, and I don't see how they're going to do that. I really feel like WWE needs a guy like Roadhouse, like the fixer who comes in and says, I run the show. What I says goes. It's my way or the highway, that type of guy. And tell Vince needs to step aside. I don't think that'll ever happen, but I think that's something that needs to start happening because Vince has no idea how to create new stars. And I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. It's very apparent on Raw, and it's very apparent on SmackDown. They're putting all their eggs in one basket, Roman Reigns, and it's like, okay, so who's the next guy? I haven't thought of it yet. So those are my problems with WWE. And when I come back, I'm going to talk about AEW. AEW Beach Break, or what a lot of us have been calling it, Beach Blast, but they can't call it that. I thought this was a good show. It's not my favorite show. I thought the Winter is Coming show was so much better, but this was a good show. I thought this was, they built to it. There's nothing there that I hate. I just didn't think it was the best. So let's start with the wedding. I thought the wedding was good. We had Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian, their wedding. Apparently, this is their actual real wedding. They had the father, James Mitchell. It's always great to see him on there officiating it. And it kind of was played tongue-in-cheek a little bit there. Their vows were very funny. One thing I liked that they didn't come out to entrance music this time. They came out to actual wedding music. So they got that part right. WWE has never gotten that part right. They've never figured that out. Miro was great. The crowd started chanting, "What is love?" And all I could think of was Night at the Roxbury, which I was a big fan of as a kid. My friend and I would, dress up and try to be both the Night at the Roxbury characters. It's funny. A little sketch on SNL became a movie. I'd always like them to revisit that. I think that would be a fun thing to revisit. Maybe it's a dead joke and it really wouldn't work, but I think it would be kind of funny to see the two of them, Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell, come back. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Miro, though, actually acknowledged it and started singing, "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me." So that was funny. And then while he was doing this, he made all these little quips at, what is it, Trent there, who is the young boy there. And he says, "Everyone is great here except for Trent, who's never had a girlfriend in his life." I mean, Miro is the best man. He's making this gimmick work. He is very funny. Then what's his name? His young boy handcuffed him, so he couldn't help Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian as they were getting beat up by Chuck Taylor, not Trent. Chuck Taylor became his young boy. Trent's hurt. That's the Chuck Taylor became his young boy, and so he handcuffed him and attacked Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford and she got pushed into the cake, and the cake opened up, and who was there? Orange Cassidy, huge pop, helped him out, laid everybody out. He's so great, and his character, you either love him or you hate him, but I just think it's so new, and it's different, and it's something WWE is not doing. So let's talk a little bit about the tag match. Omega and the Good Brothers versus Rey Fenix, Pac, and Jon Moxley. Phoenix takes the pen. Good match. I liked it. It wasn't my favorite, but it was a good match. But the big thing that happened here that everybody's talking about, Kenta showing up with a mask, attacking Jon Moxley, and them acknowledging him. Kenta and Jon Moxley at in New Japan, they're going to have that for the U.S. title, and that got a huge reaction. The Figure 4 online board went up like crazy. Everybody's going nuts because we knew as soon as you saw that it meant New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW, All Elite Wrestling together once finally together. The relationship is happening. And hopefully we get Omega versus Ibushi, and we get the Bullet Club invasion. All the stuff that we've been dreaming about can actually happen. I would even say put the New Japan guys in the AEW game. That would be even cooler. Maybe that'll be something we'll see. But I thought it was a great main event. Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. Britt Baker's really starting to come into her own. Thunder Rosa's a great worker. Thunder Rosa hits the exposed turnbuckle, then Britt Baker puts her in the lockjaw for the win. Good match. The tag team battle royal. This was won by Jericho, who eliminated Sammy Guevara, and Jericho takes the win with the Judas effect. But Sammy Guevara is not happy because he's like, oh, it's funny. It's always about you. So that Sammy Guevara breakup, it's coming. We just don't know when. I like this tag team battle royal. I thought it was good for what it needed to be. We got a Jade Cargill video showing her lifting weights. She's a strong woman, very impressive. I'm rooting for her. I hope she has a great match because on March 3rd, it's going to be Shaq and Jade Cargill versus Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. This is Jade Cargill's first step on the big stage. I think Red Velvet's been on Dark. I hope they tear it up and they really have a great match. Sting and Darby had a little thing. Team Taz said they were kicked out of the building, but they'll be back next week. And Sting said he'll be by Darby's side. I gotta say, I like what they're doing with Sting and Darby because it's giving a chance for, Darby to get the rub off of Sting. This is what to do with the older people, and they're doing it well. Adam Page and Matt Hardy versus Serpentico and Luther. I don't know why Serpentico and Luther are on my television, but you know what? This was short, 4-minute match. Lariat from Adam Page, but Matt Hardy tags in, scoring the pin. So it looks like we're going to get maybe a Matt Hardy and Adam Page kind of feud. Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston. Archer, blackout pin. And like I said, it's going to be Lance Archer and Jon Moxley versus Kenta and Kenny Omega. Really good show. Beach break. A lot of good stuff set up. I can't wait for the pay-per-view. And March 3rd is going to be crazy. That's the show to do an invasion. All AEW needs is that one little spark. Either the outsiders coming in, like in WCW, and then Hogan turning. They need something like that that makes everybody switch the channel and go, these guys are for real. And this is the future. So I'm really hoping for good things with AEW and New Japan. I think this is going to be awesome. And yeah, beach break. Great stuff. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about WWE and New Japan. So let's start with New Japan. I'm going to go into all the new beginnings in depth soon. I need to watch them all, but the big thing I wanted to talk about is Jay White has returned. So he is still with New Japan. I think we dodged a bullet there. I think Jay White, working with AEW would be cool. And WWE, I do not trust them with a talent like Jay White. I don't think Vince would know what to do with him. Jay White needs to be a top heel. He needs to be a top guy. And in New Japan, he is going to be a top guy. I think at Dominion, we're looking at Jay White versus Ibushi. And I think maybe Jay White gets the belt back. And maybe he gets a long run then. I don't know. Or he could win the G1. Something big is going to happen with Jay White because he's on the precipice of greatness. Everyone saw that amazing promo he cut. This guy is the real deal. So next week, I am going to talk about new beginnings and all the stuff going on here. I kind of want to do that all in depth. But I did want to mention Jay White returning. And as I said, New Japan and Roku deal. So let's get to WWE. Let's talk about Raw. Drew and Edge had a little confrontation. I liked this, I guess, because, it makes Edge, shows Edge wants to, face, he's weighing his options. Then we had the Sheamus turn, which I'm like, if Sheamus is the opponent for Drew McIntyre, I'm like, I'm out. I don't want to see that. I don't care about that. I think that's just awful. I think one of the things that might happen is Triple H coming back and being the guy to face Drew. That could happen. But this was good. Um, I'm still upset. There's no Fiend. No Fiend showed up. No Fiend. Riddle looked like an idiot. He got pulverized once again. Bobby Lashley, they're making him look really strong, but Riddle needs to look strong too, and he just looks like a fool. I don't know what he's doing. If he signs going back to WWE, then I don't know what to tell him. You knew what you're getting. I mean, if all you want is money, then go have at it. Orton and Edge, they had an okay match. It ended with Alexa Bliss showing up and blood coming out of her mouth, and then Orton gets speared by Edge. 1, 2, 3. So that's how the Edge and Orton feud ends. Awful. That is not an ending that I really wanted to see, but it looks like that's what we're going to see. I just thought Raw was awful. I think this is just an awful show. I wanted to see The Fiend return. I mean, what's the deal? Is he ever going to return? Or is this the thing? We're going to build up anticipation for that. Edge looks a lot older now. I gotta be honest with you. He looks older. It's noticeable now. But you know what? I hope he does well. I don't really want to bag on him too much. I think he'll do a good job. It's not what I wanted to see, as I said on my Royal Rumble podcast, but that's just the way it goes. There's nothing I can do. It's gonna be probably Edge and Roman. That's probably the way to go. But there you go. Bliss returning with the blood and everything. I don't know what to say. It's just going nowhere. The Charlotte Flair Lacey thing. I don't know. I don't care about that either. Let's talk about SmackDown. Roman and Edge, they had their confrontation. Roman, said, "My guys won't touch you. I give you my word, they're not going to touch you." And then he turned around, and it was Kevin Owens laying him out with the stunner. So at least Owens got some payback on Edge. I mean, not on Edge, on Roman. Maybe that's the match. I don't know. And then Edge just kind of looked at him and walked off. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with that. Roman looks strong, cuts great promos. He looks like a leader, $1 million. I don't know how we're supposed to expect that Edge is going to be able to take on Roman. I think, as I said, Daniel Bryan would have been the way to go, but Daniel Bryan faced Cesaro tonight and he lost. So I don't know what to say. He's just losing to stars. He's helping to make people up, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way he wants to go. So there you go. Bianca Belair, Sasha thing. We're back to scripted lines here. Bianca Belair cut such an awesome promo after the Royal Rumble, and then it's like now it's back to say the verbiage that we want. I'm really rooting for Belair. I think Belair versus Sasha is the way to go, and maybe Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. I think that's the next way to go. Those two things. But we shall see. So that's what happened in the wonderful WWE. I didn't like any of it. But that's the way they're going. And I really don't want to talk anymore about it. Now, tonight, I watched R&R Rough and Rowdy. Friend we had over wanted to watch this, and so we did. And we were going to do live commentary, and we kind of did, but it doesn't sound very good, and we weren't attentive the whole time. It was headlined by Jose Canseco versus Billy Football. Billy Football beat Jose Canseco. It kind of looked like Jose Canseco just kind of conceded and he just went down to his knees like, I don't want to do this anymore. Come on, I'm tired. It didn't look like he really beat him, but that's the way it goes. He was probably well paid for this. Actually, I know he was well paid for this, and this was just a paycheck for him. A lot of these guys were not athletes. It's 1 minute rounds, and there's 3 rounds. So the equivalent of 1 round in UFC is what these guys were doing. A lot of sloppy fighting. You would have expected that, guys that are going to be on, a pay per view or on streaming would, train a little harder for this, but, that's just the way it is. A lot of people not really in shape. We had one knockout that was brutal where the guy got knocked out and he was down for like almost 2 to 3 to 4 minutes before they were able to revive him. So that was cool. It's fun all around. Nice little show. Some people are gonna call it, sexist because they have the ring girls and everything, and they're really flaunting the TNA aspect of it. And they're not very good fighters. There's some athletes there that were good, but it was fun. It was fun. I had fun watching it. But Jose Canseco, yeah, did not win. So a 270-pound guy lost to a 245-pound guy. They had these belts. They had little people fighting. They had women fighting. One of the ring girls fought. It's a nice little blend of everything. It's not the UFC. It doesn't look professional. It doesn't look professionally shot. But, they're all having fun out there. It feels like an indie show. My mother made reference to ROH. I'd say ROH is better athletes. But, yeah, kind of does look shot like ROH. But, yeah, it was fun. If you want to see something, just some knockout, fights, not a lot of coordination and technique, then this is the show for you. If you want to see, women, parading around with ring cards and fighting, then this is the show for you. If you want to see Jose Canseco, get humiliated, this is the show for you. So that's what I have to say about R&R. There's not a lot to say about it. It's a fun little show. It's $20. I don't think you can go wrong with it. Nice 3 hours. You get a lot of fights. And, one thing I didn't like was they played music while they fought. That would not happen anywhere else. But I don't think they did that well for the Jose Canseco Billy Football fight. But it's good. There was a lot of trash talking on Twitter that led to this. My friend talked about it. Ricky, he said that, that this was set up 2 years ago and from Twitter, and then this is where we got to. And I don't know. I was expecting more of an explosive fight, but it's Jose Canseco. He's a lot older. I don't think he can do it. And he said that his shoulder was torn. He said it was already torn. And it's like, okay, so what are you doing fighting then? Some guys got COVID, I heard before, so they had to change the thing. As I said, wear masks, people. Be careful. But that's about all I got to say about R&R. And yeah, I want to say thank you for listening. And yes, you can find me at my handle, at Justin Yance. And I will see you next time on the DMF.